Well, my letters are all over the place.
Ah.
Oh,
Well, let me get a shot of this.
This struck Trudi as being extremely disturbing, because if you can't explain to a jury your motivation, then you have no chance of them understanding why you broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
And she went away, and she was very, very upset by this. So she wrote a placard like this, but on it said, the right of juries, it was to remind juries, the right of a jury, you can acquit on your conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Which basically is the same as, there's a placard inside the Old Bailey that has exactly these words. Although the old word is convictions.
Mm-hmm.
She made a modern interpretation of that, and she said conscience.
Mm-hmm.
She stood outside the Old Bailey during the trial. She had her eyes down. She didn't interact with the jury as they came in and out. She just stood as a billboard, a silent billboard, to remind the jury of something that is their legal right. And she was arrested, and her case was taken right up to the Attorney General. It was considered such a crime to hold this placard.
This is the thing I don't understand. Surely the judges know about that it's hanging in the Old Bailey.
I'm sure they do.
They must know.
They must know that, but there's a real drive at the moment for judges to direct juries and to really push them to only judge a case on the facts.
Right.
Now, a jury has two considerations. A jury has to consider the facts, and they have to consider the morality as well. That's why we have a jury. So they are allowed to bring their sense of morality into the courtroom.
When you say they're allowed, well,
it's enshrined in our law.
Oh, really?
It's enshrined in our law since the late 17th century.
By this right to convict according to their convictions.
Yes, William Peel. Basically, two Quakers were arrested for preaching in the street, and in those days it was illegal to preach anything but Christianity, I think, They were arrested, and the two defendants fought their case very vehemently. They were sent and the jury basically acquitted them. And the judge was so angry because he felt so strongly that they shouldn't have been acquitted, that he sent the jury to prison. For 2 nights, I think, they were spent in prison without food and water. And they took out I don't remember what it's called, is it habeas corpus? They took out they took it to trial. And it was deemed that that was within their rights. And ever since then, it's been it's been enshrined in our law that a jury, there is no consequences for a jury. They can acquit for whatever reason they want. So if they deem that it was a bad law, that the person was arrested, if they deem that their conscience doesn't permit them to convict, they have no consequences. They will basically be let off.
And that's happened in modern times as well, hasn't it? I think Clive Ponting.
Yes. When somebody escaped prison, didn't they? And I don't know enough about the details of the case.
Right. Well, it was just after the Falklands War. Clive Ponting was a civil servant who blew the whistle on the truth of the Belgrano thing, and Maggie Thatcher went apeshit. Yes.
I mean, we've got a situation where it is the government going apeshit about climate protest, because we are very annoying and we're very persistent, because the problem is, bottomless. It's so enormous, and the government, as we can see, don't want to deal with this problem. They want to kick it down the line for future generations to deal with, and they want to continue extracting enormous profits from oil, gas and coal even, unfortunately. So, and the legal system is the executive arm of the government, and we have a corrupt government. I don't think many people would argue with that now. I think it's quite plain to see that we have a corrupt government. They've created new laws that have been written by, think tanks who are funded by ExxonMobil or other fossil fuel companies. So it's really clear, that subverting justice is being done by the government, not by ordinary people who are desperate to have a change in policy to protect us from climate collapse and all the terrible things that will come from that. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Sounds like a pretty good reason to me.
Good plan, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure, nice to talk to you.
Because inside the Royal Courts of Justice, Trudi Warner is at a hearing. She's been prosecuted for holding a sign, this sign here, outside the Inner London Crown Court last year, like 12 months ago. And basically all that this sign says is what basically the jurors' rights are, and most members of the public, and certainly most members of juries, haven't got any idea what their rights are. So when they're sitting in a Crown Court and a judge gives them directions, and a judge, when he gives a jury directions, it's like a head teacher telling a school assembly what they can do and what they can't do. It's a little bit like that. Because they don't know their rights, because we don't know our rights generally, they go away, they follow the directions of the of the judge, and actually we've got injustices happening all across the land. And so what Trudi was doing was basically reminding everybody across the country what the basic rights are of jurors. And then she was arrested and charged with contempt of court.
Wow.
This is what happened. And so that arrest, a year later, the Attorney General today is making a decision about whether a judge is going to be allocated. I believe that's what's happening. And if the judge today, Attorney General today, decides that a judge is going to be allocated, it shows that the Attorney General is also complicit with the broken system and the injustices that are being rolled out, you know.
Wow.
So, but also in terms of what's going on in the Crown Courts, obviously there's lots of trials that have been happening in recent years involving climate actions, right? Lots of us have been prosecuted for the tiniest of crimes. In the bigger picture, we're not hurting anybody. You know, there's disruption going on. It's necessary disruption because the powers that be are not acting responsibly. They're betraying everybody across the planet, and especially the young people who are going to be left mopping up the mess that us older people have failed to address. And so yeah, there's lots of us who've been through trials, and not only are the jurors unaware of their right to acquit according to their convictions, what they deeply believe, regardless of the judge's directions. Not only that, but the judges are ruling that we're not allowed to talk in our trials in front of the juries about why we do things. So the jury is not even hearing the motivations of ordinary people and our need to stand up and do the responsible thing in the absence of our powerful people behaving responsibly.
Right.
So that's the kind of bigger story. But yeah, Trudi wrote a sign, stood in a prominent place, got arrested, and is being taken right through to the highest parts of our judiciary.
Was she? I know she was in court the day before her arrest, but when she was arrested holding this placard, was she actually on the pavement outside?
I'm not sure. I think it was. My understanding is that that this placard ended up closer to the premises than might have been wise, because I understand that it was raining. But you know what, it's a little bit petty, but our judicial system is very good at being petty, and they will lock people up in the name of pettiness, and they've lost total sight of what is important. It's part of what we're protesting about, you know. They can lock us all up on technicalities if they want, but why would the people who are in control of the policies and the laws and the money and the property and the power, you know, why would they waste their time with pettiness and looking for technicalities to protect their power, because they're all in denial. They don't seem to care about the young people who they're betraying. So it's our job to keep banging that drum. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much.
So yeah, that's why I'm here.
It's tough on the old feet, I know.
It's okay. You know, we could be in Gaza or in the Congo or in the Yemen, or we could be in any far more wretched situation. And you know, the climate emergency hasn't hit this country. Climate emergency hasn't hit the people of this country as hard as it's going to, and as hard as it's hit people across the world. But there's 15 million people in Britain who are in poverty on account of the cost of living crisis, and it's all connected. So
how do you see that connection?
Well, colonial, capitalist, consumerism is responsible for trashing the planet and for the theft of land and the impoverishment of people, and for the overuse of energy and making everybody, our systems are dependent on consuming huge amounts of energy, which is trashing the planet, and then people can't afford to pay for the energy. We've all become energy dependent. There's no education that teaches us how to live a life which is less energy hungry. There's no support systems in place to help us transition from a broken lifestyle and culture to something that might work for us for the future. You know, it's sustainability, but it's regenerative lifestyles, regenerative policies, you know, is
right.
Yeah.
And it all connects back to how the rule of law is operated.
Well, that's right, and the law. There's the law. The laws are the problems. Yeah, the laws. The laws are created to protect profit, power, property. Yeah. The laws are not created to protect people and planet. So it's hardly surprising that we're in this mess because there's no laws to protect us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
I am Trudi Warner.
I am Trudi Warner.
I am Trudi Warner.
I am Trudi Warner too.
I am Trudi Warner.
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 Okay. Have a leaflet.
C'est quoi sur l'entrée?
You're welcome.
On en a déjà.
Moi je l'ai pas.
You're welcome.
Maintenant je suis content de l'avoir. This way. Could you say who you are, please?
I can't say I am the Trudi. I am the actual Trudi Warner.
Yep.
You are Trudi Zero.
Prove it!
I have documents. I'm documented, and I'm definitely Trudi Warner. And yeah. And
So what happened?
thank you so much. We're back on Monday at 10:30 for a decision about permission. Absolutely the same judge. Yeah. I don't have to come on Monday, but I will, because I think I should be the first to know. But I am absolutely sworn to silent. I'm sorry. I know it's really hard, and I appreciate that people have hung about all day long and waited, but I can't.
That's our privilege.
I can't say anything. I can't even hold up a placard. So
No, don't hold on
I
to
can't even do that. Thank goodness. But yeah, just huge thanks really. It's and I'm sorry it's run on a bit. as these things do.
What did you think of the judge?
I'm not allowed to say anything.
All right, okay.
No, absolutely nothing.
Are you allowed to stand next to it like
I can't see anything.
Are you Trudi Warner? Me too.
Oh, all right.
No choice. Bigger than you.
I need to look 10 years younger, guys. I'm sorry.
You are eternal.
By the time this is over, you will look 10 years younger.
And you're going to have your own
I
blood.
think I've already aged a bit.
Camera, please. Camera. It's gone on to this.
Woof.
Right. Do you want to?
Public gallery was full.
Oh, Reading.
The wedding? Reading.
The trial conditions. My name is Dr. Clive Dolphin. I'm a spokesperson for Defend Juries. They haven't stopped me talking yet. So I'm just going to say a few words. We've had a massive amount of support here today. We had over 50 people with placards up and down the road. We had people who were handing out leaflets. If you were inside and you missed the choir, you missed a quite amazing choir. There is just an awesome level of support for Trudi. And this is what you see outside the Royal Courts of Justice. And what you have to understand is there have been people holding the same signs that Trudi held up and down every single court in England and Wales throughout the course of this week. There is an awesome amount of support. When we talk to ordinary people and we tell them what Trudi's done and the fact that she's now in court, they're dumbfounded. They can't believe that this is happening. They don't believe that this is the Britain, that the values of the Britain that they stand for. And so we call on the Attorney General to do the sensible thing, to do the only reasonable thing, to step back and just say, this is a stupid prosecution. The sign is correct. People are entitled to hold signs. The right to protest is guaranteed under the Human Rights Act. There is no reason why anyone couldn't stand outside a court with a sign conveying the facts of law. The more this goes on, the more that the Attorney General calls the British judicial system into disrepute. Not just with ordinary people here in Britain, but globally. We've seen this story reported in India, in Chicago, in Europe, across the world. There is global interest in why somebody as sweet and dear as Trudi stood outside of a court with a sign holding the law on it and is now potentially facing prosecution. The more that this goes on, the more attention that this generates, and the more that the original intent of the government to hide the rights of the juries, to make sure that jurors don't know their rights, the more that they add fuel to the fire that ensures that every juror will know their rights. Every juror will go into court knowing they can't be bullied by the judge. We're past 1670, we're not doing that again. Juries will not be locked up. A juror can give their verdict according to their conscience. We know they can. Goncalves' case in 2011, the Court of Appeal, they have said as much. A jury is an independent body. They listen to the law from the judge, they listen to the facts from the case, and they come to their own decision. The jury decides. Thank you.
Just going to come in and say, well, yeah, give this to sign.
Good to see you. How's Oxford? Oh, you're back. I mean, at least it's come out, or going to be coming out quicker than I thought. You know, usually a reserved judgment means weeks, sometimes it means months, not Monday, so that's interesting.
Do you want me to record you saying this?
Could do, but I mean, not particularly. I think in media terms, what's good is we've now got a very clear slot when the story still feels very fresh and live, and there'll be people here on Monday. Trudi doesn't have too long to wait and stew about this. We've got to think what we're going to do for Monday, because it's a big moment in the story either way on Monday now. I mean, it's either massive celebration or it's, whoa, this is pretty scary shit, because the whole system's getting in deeper. You know, it's locking itself in. So it's,
I think Victoria Apprentice is as locked into this as Trudi is. I think the wheels are turning. And there was a point when Victoria was sat on top of it, kind of like I'm riding the machine, and now she's mangled up in the machine as much as the rest of us.
Yes, but this is now the courts though too, isn't it? So the courts could distance themselves and say, what a load of bollocks. I mean, they could do that in legal language. They might find a legal way of putting that. But if they don't, they're getting in deep. By granting permission, they're getting in deeper, aren't they? The courts as well. So it's a big moment.
Have you said something to camera about this? Do you want to, or have you done that already?
I don't know. Do we? Is it really necessary? I mean, I guess maybe people do want something, don't they?
Something small.
There are enough people.
I think it's important to say.
Do something, if only so we've got something internally. So we, at some point in the future, we might want to use that in some way. And I'm thinking, if we're going to do it, then doing it with that sat in the background is the way to go.
Yeah. So we know there are a lot of people all over the country waiting for news about what's happened to Trudi today at the Royal Courts of Justice, and to get straight to the point, the judgment has been reserved. So we don't have an answer, but the judgment is going to come on 10:30 on Monday morning, which is maybe sooner than we would have expected, and that's going to be a huge moment. Because either the court on Monday will say what we all know to be true. In legal terms, this is a load of bollocks that should never have been brought by the Solicitor General, and that is the end of it, unless the Solicitor General appeals, or the court will grant permission to the Solicitor General for this case to go to a full hearing. That means the court grants permission to the government, essentially, to apply for the imprisonment of Trudi, for holding up a sign. We will know which way it goes around 10:30 on Monday morning. So it's a bit of an agonising wait for Trudi, but not as long as we thought it might have been. That's the main thing for people to know. The only other thing to say about the court hearing today was something really quite astonishing, said on behalf of the Solicitor General. He said, it doesn't matter to my case whether the statement on Miss Warner's placard was true or not. Even if that is a true statement of the law, in our view, she is still guilty of contempt of court. And so by the same logic, if someone was holding a sign that said innocent until proven guilty, according to the Solicitor General, contempt of court, you can go to prison. If someone held a sign that said, you must find someone guilty beyond reasonable doubt, or before they're guilty, that's what guilty means, that would be contempt of court. So this is uncharted waters, this is sort of like some dystopian nightmare we seem to be getting into. So let's hope there's some robust courage from the court on Monday, but we'll see.
Thanks, Tim. That was very good. God, that's terrifying, isn't it? I didn't realise that.
Go back in the...
Would have to be told about it by the court, but because they're not, it's just the kind of power that they have. And therefore, so this is the weird, semantic legalese we start to get into in that courtroom. But his main point was, even if it's correct, it's still a contempt of court.
Does the defence have an opportunity to appeal?
Well, we aren't there yet.
Right. Yeah.
We're still hoping for good news on this on Monday.
I'm with you.
But if the court grants the Solicitor General permission, could that decision be appealed? I think the answer is yes.
Right.
Would as a matter of tactics, Trudi's legal team appeal at that stage rather than wait for it to go to a full hearing and deal with it there? I'm not sure. My feeling is probably they'd wait for it to go to the full hearing.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you.
Rather than delay it,
I'm with you. Yeah.
Because I guess the bit of sort of legal psychology going on here, from the point of view of the single judge who was sitting there today, just the presence of so many people in court today, the presence of so many journalists in court, what that's communicating is this is a big deal. People care about this a lot. So it would be very easy for that judge to think to himself, let this go to the full court, where there's more than one. Otherwise, this is all on me. And that's a bit scary.
Would it be the same judge?
No, I don't think so. I mean, could it be? It would be two judges.
Right.
And it would be a lead judge, it would be a Court of Appeal judge as well as a High Court judge, with the Court of Appeal judge the more senior judge. So even if he were on the full court, he'd probably have a sort of lesser influence. Probably it wouldn't be him.
Right.
So are you saying, by saying that the judge today would possibly be likely to allow it to go forwards because it takes a bit of pressure off them as an individual judge?
Yes, I think there's a temptation when a judge is when a case obviously raises issues of profound significance, and both parties agreed there was, constitutional issues in play here. You'd have to be quite bold to decide to deal with that all on your own. The temptation would be, well, let it go to a full court if this is such an important principle. So I'm not necessarily saying that's what he is going to do. I'm just noticing there'd be a temptation for the judge to do that.
Interesting.
A bunch of people went down to the Supreme Court at lunchtime and stood outside facing the Supreme Court shouting, "We are all Trudi Warner."
Oh,
brilliant. Brilliant.
So that really is every court that's been
And it was
covered now.
well done.
You said every